Shaw stood near the entrance of the Grand Hall with his hands clasped behind his back. His uniform was clean and pressed. His boots were polished. His sidearm hung at his hip in a simple leather holster. He looked like what he was, a human security officer doing his job. The Grand Hall of Nexus Prime was filled with aliens from dozens of worlds. They wore flowing robes and gleaming armor and strange garments that could not even describe. They spoke in languages that his translator struggled to keep up with. They moved through the hall like they owned it, and in a way they did. Humans had only been part of the Galactic Trade Consortium for 3 years. They were the species, the smallest delegation, the least respected, had grown used to the stares and the whispers. He had grown used to being ignored at best and mocked at worst. Ambassador stood across the hall speaking with a group of traders. She was calm and patient as always. Her gray hair was pulled back in a neat bun, and her diplomatic robes were modest compared to the flashy outfits around her. Admired her. She never lost her temper no matter how poorly the aliens treated her. The evening was supposed to be a simple diplomatic reception. Food and drinks and conversation, nothing dangerous, was only there as a formality, a symbol that Earth took these events seriously. Then they arrived. They entered the hall like a storm rolling in. There were 5 of them, and each one stood over 2 meters tall. Their skin was dark purple and covered in thick scales. Their eyes glowed faint orange. They wore battle armor even to a peaceful gathering because never went anywhere without their weapons. The leader of the group was Commander, had read the briefing files, was a decorated warrior from a species that valued combat above all else. He had killed enemies on a dozen worlds. He considered most other species beneath him, and he especially despised humans. Scanned the room until his glowing eyes landed on. A slow smile spread across his face. He said something to his companions and they all laughed. Then he began walking toward. Did not move. He kept his breathing steady. He had dealt with bullies before. Alien or human, they were all the same. Stopped directly in front of and looked down at him. There was almost a full meter taller. His armor hummed with power and the twin plasma cannons mounted on his shoulders could have leveled a building. So this is what humans send to protect their leaders, said. His voice was deep and rumbling. A small soft creature with a tiny weapon. He pointed its sidearm and laughed. The sound echoed through the hall and other aliens turned to watch. Said nothing. What is that thing? Continued. A toy. Do human children play with such things? His companions laughed again. More aliens gathered around to watch the entertainment. It is a standard issue sidearm, said calmly. It does what I need it to do. Does what you need, leaned closer. His breath smelled like copper and smoke. What could you possibly need it for? To open food containers, to signal for help when a real warrior threatens you. Met his gaze without flinching. It has served me well enough. Straightened up and addressed the crowd that had gathered. Look at this, everyone. Look at what humanity considers a warrior. A tiny creature with a tiny weapon who cannot even defend his own honor when insulted. Ambassador appeared at side. Her expression was calm but could see the tension in her jaw. Commander, she said smoothly, Lieutenant Shaw is one of our finest officers. I would ask that you treat him with the respect his position deserves. Respect, laughed. Respect is earned through strength, Ambassador, and I see no strength here, only weakness pretending to be patience. He turned back to, I challenge you, human, a formal duel in the arena. Let us show the galaxy what happens when a real warrior faces one of your kind. The hall went silent. A formal challenge could not be ignored. To refuse would bring shame not just to but to all of humanity. Every species would see humans as cowards. Their position in the consortium would be damaged for generations. Ambassador stepped forward. Commander, this is unnecessary. We are here for diplomacy, not violence. Then your officer can decline, said. He can admit that humans are not worthy of standing among us. He can crawl back to his little planet and hide. Looked at the ambassador. She shook her head slightly. She wanted him to walk away. It was the smart choice, the safe choice. But had not joined the service to make safe choices. "I accept," he said. The crowd murmured in surprise, even seemed momentarily caught off guard. "You accept," they repeated. "You understand that I will not hold back, that I will demonstrate exactly why your species does not belong here." "I understand," said. "Name the time and place." Grins showing rows of sharp teeth. "Tomorrow, station time midday, the central arena. Bring whatever weapons you wish human, it will not matter." He turned and walked away with his companions following. The crowd parted for them like water around stones. Ambassador grabbed arm the moment they were gone. "What are you doing? He will kill you." "Maybe," said. "But if I had refused, we would have lost everything we have worked for. Your life is not worth our political standing." Smiled slightly. "With respect, Ambassador, I think that is my choice to make." He stepped away from her and pulled out his communicator. He needed to make a call. There was something he needed from the armory, something he had hoped he would never have to use. Ambassador watched him walk away. She had seen that look before. It was the look of someone who knew something that no one else did. She hoped whatever was planning would be enough, because tomorrow the whole galaxy would be watching, and if failed, then humanity would be seen as nothing more than prey among predators. Found a quiet corner and opened a secure channel to Earth's military command. Captain Holt answered within seconds. "Lieutenant Shaw, I heard about the challenge. Are you sure about this?" "I am sure, sir, but I need authorization for a special equipment requisition." There was a pause. "What kind of equipment?" Told him. There was a longer pause. "That is serious hardware, Lieutenant. You know what it means if you deploy that in front of the whole consortium." "I know, sir, but I think it is time they learned what humans are really capable of." Another pause, then a sigh. "Authorization granted. I will have it delivered within the hour. Give them hell, Lieutenant." Closed the channel and looked out at the stars beyond the station's windows. Tomorrow, everything would change. Tomorrow, the galaxy would learn that the weapon they mocked was never the one they should have feared. The central arena of Nexus Prime was enormous. It had been built centuries ago to settle disputes between species without destroying the station itself. The walls were reinforced with energy shields that could contain almost any weapon. The floor was made of a special alloy that could be repaired between matches. Thousands of seats rose up in tiers around the circular fighting space. Today, every seat was full. Word of the challenge had spread across the station overnight. A commander against a human security officer. The betting pools had opened within hours, and the odds were not kind too. Most aliens considered the match already decided. Some had only come to see how quickly the human would fall. Stood in the preparation room beneath the arena floor. He could hear the crowd above him. The sound was like distant thunder. He checked his sidearm one more time. The weight of it was familiar in his hand. It had been with him through training and through his first assignment and through every mission since. The door opened and Ambassador entered. Her face was pale with worry. "You do not have to do this. We can find another way." "There is no other way, Ambassador. You know that." She looked at the pistol in his hand. "Is that really all you are bringing?" Holstered the weapon and smiled. "Trust me." Before she could respond, another figure entered the room. It was an elderly with pale blue skin and kind eyes. Counselor, I had been one of the few aliens to treat humans with respect since their arrival at the station. "Lieutenant Shaw," I said, "I came to wish you well, though I confess I do not understand why you seem so calm." "Should I be afraid?" asked. "Has killed 17 opponents in formal duels. He has never lost. His weapons alone cost more than most starships, and you carry only that." I gestured at the holstered pistol. "This is not my only weapon," said. A tilted their head. "Then where are the others?" "They will arrive when I need them." A tone sounded throughout the room. The match was about to begin. Nodded to the ambassador and walked toward the lift that would take him up to the arena floor. The light was blinding when he emerged. The crowd noise hit him like a wall. He blinked and let his eyes adjust. The arena floor stretched out before him. Scorch marks and dents covered the surface from previous battles. Across from him, the opposite lift rose and emerged. The had dressed for war. His armor gleamed under the arena lights. The twin plasma cannons on his shoulders tracked smoothly as he moved. Energy blades extended from his forearms. His helmet covered his face but could see those orange eyes glowing through the visor. The crowd cheered for, thousands of voices crying out in support of the obvious winner. Heard scattered laughter when aliens noticed his simple uniform and small pistol. An announcer's voice boomed through the arena. "Citizens of the consortium, today we witness a formal challenge between Commander of the Empire and Lieutenant Shaw of Earth. The duel will continue until one combatant yields or is unable to continue. Both parties have agreed to these terms. Let the match begin when ready." Raised his arms to the crowd soaking in their adoration. Then he turned to face. "I want to thank you, human. You have given me a wonderful opportunity. After today, every species will know what happens to those who think they belong among warriors." Said nothing. He unholstered his pistol and held it at his side. Laughed. "That is your answer, that little thing. I have seen insects with more dangerous stingers." Still did not respond. He simply stood there waiting. This laughter faded. He had expected fear or anger or desperate bravado. This calm silence was something else, something that did not fit. "Very well," growled. "Die in silence then." He raised one cannon and fired a blast at the ground near his feet. The arena floor melted and bubbled. Heat washed over his face. He did not flinch. He did not move. The crowd murmured. Something was wrong. The human should have been terrified. "What game are you playing?" demanded. Slowly holstered his pistol. Then he raised one hand toward the ceiling and made a signal. High above the arena floor, a set of panels began to slide open. The crowd looked up in confusion. A cargo platform descended through the opening. On it sat a massive container marked with human military symbols. Watched the container lower into the arena. "What is this?" Walked toward the container as it touched down. "You mocked my weapon, Commander. You said it was small. You said it was weak. You were right. That pistol is a small weapon, but I never said it was my only weapon." He pressed his palm against the container's lock panel. There was a hiss of releasing pressure. The container walls fell away in 4 directions. The crowd went silent. Standing inside the container was a human combat frame. It was 3 meters tall. Its armor was thick and angular and covered in sensor arrays. A rotary kinetic cannon was mounted on one arm. A missile pod sat on the opposite shoulder. An energy blade hummed at its hip. The machine looked like it had been built to fight gods. Walked to the suit and stepped onto the integration platform at its feet. Mechanical arms began attaching armor segments to his body. Neural links connected to ports along his spine. The helmet descended over his head, and his vision filled with targeting data and system readouts. "What is this?" shouted. "Where did humans get such technology?" His voice came through the suit's speakers. It was calm and clear. "We built it. We have had technology like this for decades. We simply never felt the need to show it off." The crowd erupted in confused shouts. This was impossible. Humans were supposed to be primitives. They were supposed to be weak. Up in the control booth, Technical Sergeant watched through the observation window. She had coordinated the delivery from the embassy ship and managed the transfer through the station's cargo systems without anyone noticing what was inside. "All systems green, Lieutenant," she said through the comm link. "You are fully operational." flexed the suit's massive hands. The servos whined smoothly. Everything felt perfect. Pointed at him with a shaking finger. This is cheating. This was not part of our agreement. The rules stated personal weapons, replied. This suit is my personal assignment. It has my name on the registration. Would you like to check? The look to the arena officials for support, but they only shrugged. The rules had been followed. Took a step forward. The arena floor trembled under the suit's weight. You wanted to see what humans are capable of, Commander. You wanted to teach the galaxy a lesson about our place among you. He raised the rotary cannon, and it began to spin with a rising whine. Let me show you what we have been hiding. His pride would not let him retreat. He roared in fury and charged forward with his plasma cannons blazing. Stood his ground. It was time to demonstrate why humanity had never needed to prove anything to anyone. Until now. The first plasma blast hit directly in the chest. The energy splashed across the armor like water against stone. Warning lights flickered briefly in his helmet display and then went dark. Damage assessment showed less than 2% armor degradation. Fired again and again. Each shot was powerful enough to melt through the hull of a transport ship. Each shot barely scratched the human's armor. The crowd watched in stunned silence. This was not possible. Plasma weapons were among the most powerful personal armaments in the known galaxy. They should have torn through anything a human could produce. Stood motionless as the barrage continued. He let empty his first power cell. He let the switch to his second cannon and empty that one too. He did not fire a single shot in return. What is wrong, Commander? Amplified voice echoed through the arena. Your weapons seem to be malfunctioning. Howled in rage. He charged forward with his energy blades extended. The crowd leaned in expecting close combat to favor this natural size and strength. Raised one armored arm and caught the first blade strike on his forearm guard. Sparks flew, but the armor held. Swung again with his other blade. Blocked that too. The impacts rang out like bells. They traded blows across the arena floor. Was fast for his size. His training was evident in every movement. He had spent his entire life learning to kill, but matched him strike for strike. How? Demanded between attacks. How is a human keeping up with me? The suit enhances everything, explained as he deflected another blow. Strength, speed, reflexes, reaction time. It takes what we have and multiplies it. He caught both of his blades in his armored hands and held them. The strained against his grip, but could not break free. But that is not the real secret, continued. The real secret is what we designed this technology to fight. He shoved backward, stumbled and nearly fell. We did not build these suits to fight species like yours, Commander. We built them to fight things that make look like children. Regained his footing. His breathing was heavy now. His armor's power readouts showed dangerous levels of drain. He had expended enormous energy and accomplished nothing. In the stands, the watching aliens had begun to whisper among themselves. What threats had humans faced? What enemies had forced them to develop such devastating weaponry? Humanity had only been spacefaring for a few centuries. What could they possibly have encountered? Decided it was time to stop playing defense. He moved forward with sudden speed, tried to bring his blades up but was already inside his guard. An armored fist slammed into the chest plate. The impact sent flying backward across the arena. The crowd gasped. No one had ever seen knocked down. The rose slowly. Cracks had appeared in his chest armor. He looked at with new eyes. There was fear there now, real fear. What are you? He whispered. Walked toward him with heavy steps. I am a human. We are small. We are soft. We live short lives compared to most species. But we learned something long ago, Commander. We learned that the universe is full of things that want to kill us, so we built tools to kill them first. He raised his rotary cannon and fired a short burst. The rounds tore through his right shoulder cannon. The weapon exploded in a shower of sparks and debris, screamed as shrapnel cut into his arm. "That is one weapon down," said. He fired again. The left shoulder cannon detonated, fell to his knees clutching his burned and bleeding arms. Up in the observation booth watched with quiet satisfaction. Both primary weapons neutralized, Lieutenant. He is down to blades only. Understood, replied. Ambassador stood beside her. She had come to watch despite her fears. Now she stared at the scene below with wonder. She had read the classified files about human military capabilities. She had seen the reports about the program, but seeing it in action was something else entirely. "Why did we never reveal this technology before?" she asked. Shrugged. Command wanted to keep it secret. They figured if other species thought we were weak, they would underestimate us. Turns out they were right. In the arena stood over the kneeling. They looked up at him with hatred and confusion. "Finish it then," spat. "Kill me and claim your victory." His missile pod hummed as it charged. His energy blade extended with a soft hiss. He had enough firepower to reduce to ash. One command and the fight would be over forever. The crowd held its breath. This was the moment they had come to see. Blood and death and the natural order of the strong destroying the weak. They expected the human to show no mercy, just as a would show none. Powered down his weapons. The rotary cannon stopped spinning. The missile pod went silent. The energy blade retracted into its housing, stood there with his hands open and empty. "No," he said. Stared at him. "What?" "I said no, I will not kill you." The arena erupted in confused noise. Some aliens shouted in protest. Others called out questions. The officials looked at each other, uncertain what to do. His voice cut through the chaos. "I did not come here to kill anyone. I came here to prove a point. Humanity does not need to destroy our enemies to earn respect. We do not need to wipe out every species that insults us." He took a step back from. "The real weapon is not this suit. It is not the cannon or the missiles or the blade. The real weapon is knowing when not to use them. Any fool can destroy. It takes wisdom to show mercy." Remained on his knees, staring up at the human who had spared his life. In culture, such mercy was unheard of. Enemies were eliminated without hesitation. Showing weakness invited future attacks. But this did not feel like weakness. This felt like something else. Something did not have a word for. "The duel is over," announced. "Commander is unable to continue. I claim victory by technical decision." The arena officials conferred briefly and then confirmed the result. The human had won. Turned and walked back toward his entry point. The crowd watched in silence. They had come expecting a slaughter. They had received something far more confusing. Behind him slowly rose to his feet. His weapons were destroyed. His armor was cracked. His pride was shattered, but he was alive. And he could not stop thinking about why. The news spread across Nexus Prime within hours. Every screen on the station showed footage of the duel. Aliens crowded around public displays watching the humans tear through defenses. They watched spare this life. They watched him walk away without celebrating. The reactions varied wildly. Some species praised the human's mercy. Others considered it foolish. A few suggested that had been too weak to finish the job despite his obvious advantage. But no one could deny what they had seen. Humans were not the primitive creatures everyone had assumed. Sat in the embassy ship's medical bay while technicians ran post-combat diagnostics. The neural link had put significant strain on his nervous system. His muscles ached from the suit's demands, but he was alive and uninjured. Ambassador entered the bay within her hand. Her expression was complicated, relief mixed with concern mixed with something that might have been pride. "You have caused quite a stir, Lieutenant." Smiled weakly. "That was the idea, Ambassador. I have received 17 requests for meetings in the last 2 hours. Species that would not even look at us yesterday now want to discuss trade agreements and mutual defense pacts. She set the down. The High Arbiter himself has requested an audience with our delegation. High Arbiter mourns. The very same. He wants to discuss humanity's formal status in the consortium. Sat up despite the pain. Mourns was the highest authority on the station. His word could elevate humanity from junior members to full partners overnight, or he could have them expelled entirely. When asked, 1 hour, I want you there. Looked down at his uniform. It was sweat-stained and wrinkled from hours inside the, I should probably clean up. You should, but she paused until he met her eyes. What you did today, sparing, that was not in any playbook. Why did you do it? Considered the question carefully. Because killing him would have proved their point. They think we are Savage's ambassador, violent primitives who got lucky with technology. If I had executed after defeating him, I would have confirmed everything they believe about us. And now they have to reconsider. Now they have seen that we can destroy them but choose not to. That scares them more than any weapon ever could. Ambassador nodded slowly. Get cleaned up, Lieutenant. We have diplomacy to conduct. 1 hour later they stood in the High Arbiter's chambers. The room was vast and circular with windows looking out on the stars. Morn sat on an elevated platform at the center. He was an ancient creature with silver scales and eyes that had seen empires rise and fall. Representatives from a dozen species lined the walls. They had come to witness whatever judgment would be passed, recognized some of them from the arena. They looked at him differently now. Lieutenant Shaw, Morn spoke with a voice like grinding stone. You have created quite a spectacle. It was not my intention to cause disruption, High Arbiter. Was it not? You revealed military technology that no one knew humans possessed. You defeated one of the most feared warriors in the consortium. You showed mercy when none was expected. Morns leaned forward. If that was not intentional, then humans are even more dangerous than I thought. Ambassador stepped forward. High Arbiter, humanity has always preferred peaceful relations. We do not seek conflict. We do not desire conquest. We revealed our capabilities only because we were forced to defend our honor. Forced? Morns repeated the word thoughtfully. Yes, Commander forced your hand. He demanded a demonstration and you provided one. His ancient eyes studied. Tell me, Lieutenant, is that the extent of human military power? Glanced at the ambassador. She gave him a slight nod. No, High Arbiter. The suit I used today is classified as a standard infantry support frame. It is mid-tier equipment by our military standards. Murmurs rippled through the watching representatives. Mid-tier. The weapon that had humiliated a commander was mid-tier. Then what else do you have? Morns asked. I am not authorized to discuss our full capabilities, High Arbiter, but I can tell you that humanity has faced threats that required us to develop significant defensive technologies. We have survived encounters that would have destroyed lesser species. We learned long ago that the universe does not reward weakness. Morn sat back. And yet you showed weakness today. You spared an enemy who would have killed you without hesitation. With respect, High Arbiter, that was not weakness, that was choice. Any creature with enough power can kill. It takes strength to decide not to. Paused. Humanity did not come to the stars to conquer. We came to explore and to trade and to learn. We will defend ourselves when necessary, but we will not become the monsters that we were afraid of finding out here. The chamber was silent. The watching representatives exchanged uncertain looks. This was not how new species talked. New species were supposed to be eager to prove themselves through aggression. They were supposed to want blood and territory and dominance. Morns finally spoke. I have been High Arbiter for 300 years. In that time I have seen countless species join the consortium. Most of them burned bright and fast. They made enemies. They started wars. They destroyed themselves or were destroyed by others. He looked at with something approaching respect. Humans are different. You hide your strength. You avoid conflict when possible, and when forced to fight you do only what is necessary and no more. He turned to address the whole chamber. I am recommending that humanity be elevated to full consortium membership with all associated rights and responsibilities. Any objections will be heard at the next council session. No one spoke, no one dared. Ambassador bowed deeply. Thank you, High Arbiter. Humanity will honor your trust. As they left, the chamber felt eyes on his back. The representatives were still watching him, still trying to understand what they had witnessed. Captain Holt's voice crackled through his earpiece. He had been listening through the embassy's secure channel. Well done, Lieutenant. Command is very pleased. You have changed humanity's position in this galaxy permanently. Did not feel triumphant. He felt tired. Thank you, sir. I just hope we do not have to do it again. So do I, Lieutenant, so do I. They walked back toward the embassy ship through corridors filled with aliens who stepped aside to let them pass. Yesterday, those same aliens would have ignored them. Today, they moved like they were afraid of getting too close. Wondered if he had made the right choice. He had revealed humanity's hidden strength. He had changed how the galaxy saw his species, but he had also painted a target on their back. Now everyone knew what humans were capable of. And somewhere out there someone was already making plans to test those capabilities again. Hoped they would be ready when it happened. 3 days passed on Nexus Prime. The station slowly returned to normal operations, but everything had changed for the human delegation. Where once they had been ignored, they were now sought after. Trade representatives lined up outside the embassy ship. Military requested technical exchanges. Scientists asked questions about human engineering. Ambassador handled the flood of attention with her usual grace. She accepted meetings and delegated tasks, and began building the diplomatic framework that would define humanity's role in the consortium for generations to come. Returned to his regular duties. He stood guard at the embassy entrance. He escorted the ambassador to meetings. He wore his simple uniform and carried his standard sidearm just as he had before the duel. That had been returned to secure storage aboard the military vessel that had delivered it. On the third morning, Counselor came to visit. The elderly found at his post and stood beside him, watching the station's traffic flow past. You have become quite famous, Lieutenant Shaw. Shrugged, I did not ask for fame. No, I suppose you did not. I was quiet for a moment. I have been thinking about what you said in the arena, about building weapons to fight things more dangerous than. What did you mean? Considered how much to share. The classified files contained information that could cause panic across the galaxy. Stories of ancient threats that slept in the dark between stars. Encounters that had nearly ended humanity before they truly began. We have faced things, he said carefully. Things that most species will hopefully never encounter. Things that made us realize the universe is not a safe place. We survived, but we learned to be prepared for the worst. I nodded slowly. I have lived a long time, Lieutenant. I have heard rumors of such things. Most dismiss them as legends. They looked at with knowing eyes. But humans believe them, and you built weapons just in case. Better to have them and not need them than need them and not have them. A wise philosophy, though I wonder. Tilted their head. You showed us a mid-tier weapon, you called it. Will you ever show us what you consider top tier? His expression did not change. I hope we never have to. Before I could respond, a familiar figure approached from across the corridor, walked toward them without his armor. He wore simple robes and his arms were bandaged where shrapnel had cut him. He looked smaller without his weapons, almost ordinary. I stepped back uncertainly. Should I call security, Lieutenant? No, watch the approach. I think I know why he is here. Stopped a few meters away. His glowing eyes met. For a long moment neither of them spoke. I have spent 3 days trying to understand what happened in that arena, finally said. In my culture, we do not spare defeated enemies. Mercy is considered weakness, an invitation for revenge. I know, said. And yet you let me live. His voice was rough with confusion. You had every right to kill me. I insulted you. I insulted your species. I tried to destroy you in front of the entire station. Why did you show mercy? Thought about the question. He had answered it for Ambassador and for High Arbiter Morns, but deserved a different answer, a more personal one. Because killing you would not have solved anything, said. You would have been dead, and I would have proven that humans are exactly what you thought we were, violent primitives who only understand force. But you are not that. No, we can be violent when necessary. We can be absolutely terrifying when someone threatens what we love, but we do not have to be. We have the power to choose. Looked at the directly. And I chose to let you live so that you could make a choice too. What choice? Whether to keep hatting us, or whether to try understanding us instead. Was silent, his hands clenched and unclenched at his sides. The internal struggle was visible on his face. Everything he had been taught told him to seek revenge, to find a way to destroy the human who had humiliated him. But something else was growing inside him, something new and strange, something that felt like respect. Among my people there is an old tradition, said slowly. When a warrior spares an enemy in combat, they create a bond, a debt that must be repaid. He reached into his robes and pulled out a small blade. It was ceremonial, ornate, clearly very old. He held it out too. This blade belonged to my father and his father before him. It represents my family's honor. I am giving it to you as a pledge. From this day forward, your enemies are my enemies. Your battles are my battles. I misjudged you, Shaw. I will not make that mistake again. Accepted the blade carefully. It was lighter than it looked. The metal was warm against his palm. I did not spare you to gain an ally. I know that is why the pledge means something. The almost smiled. You are strange creatures, you humans, but perhaps that is what the galaxy needs. Strange creatures who do not follow the old rules. He turned and walked away without another word. I watched him go with astonishment. That may be the first time in history I has pledged loyalty to another species willingly. Looked down at the blade in his hand. I hope I never have to call on that pledge. With respect, Lieutenant. A's voice was gentle. I believe you will. The galaxy has noticed humanity now. Some will want to be your friends, others will want to test you as did, and others still will see you as a threat to be eliminated. Then we will face them when they come. Returned to his post, the traffic continued to flow past. Aliens of all shapes and sizes went about their business. Most of them glanced at as they passed. Some nodded in respect. Others hurried by with nervous expressions. A young alien trader stopped nearby. They looked at its uniform and then at his holstered sidearm. Their face twisted into a mocking grin. Is that really all you carry, human? That tiny little weapon? Had heard this before. He would probably hear it again, but now the question did not bother him at all. He just smiled and said nothing. Across the corridor, Ambassador watched the exchange. She had come to check on and found him exactly where he always was, standing guard, doing his duty, acting like nothing had changed even though everything had. She thought about what he had said to her after the duel, about the real weapon being the choice not to use power, about proving humanity's worth through restraint rather than destruction. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. The weapon you could see was never the one you should fear. It was the weapon you could not see that changed everything. And humanity had plenty of weapons that no one had seen yet. Smiled to herself and walked away. There was work to do, treaties to negotiate, alliances to build. The future of humanity among the stars was just beginning. Stood at his post and watched her go. Then he looked down at the blade in his hand. He would find a proper place for it later. For now, he tucked it into his belt beside his pistol. Two weapons, one small and visible, one ceremonial and hidden. That seemed about right. The station's lights dimmed slightly as it rotated to face away from the nearest sun. Another day was ending on Nexus Prime. Tomorrow there would be new challenges and new threats and new opportunities. Was ready for all of them. After all, he was human, and humans were always ready for whatever the universe threw at them, even if they never showed it until they had to.